Is behind the mic of our favorite radio DJs, but not often the face. But there was one smooth voice that would not only change the New Orleans radio sound, but the way it looked too. That voice was none other than Vernon Winslow, better known as Dr. Daddyo. And it was his voice that would start a radio revolution.
What's your name? You're on the radio with your boy Wild Wayne.
Thanks for jamming with me, A.D. Barry, on 98.5 WYLD.
Q93, your official station of summer, 651 with CJ and Company.
You've heard their voices over the airways over the years. But it was a voice for some time that went unheard, that led the foundation for black radio disc jockeys in New Orleans today.
That's right, this is Dr. Daddyo.
He inspired so many others to be themselves.
We talk about that word trailblazer, and to think about what he really did open the doors for so many other people in broadcasting, people of color in broadcasting particularly.
But I think when he spoke when we were out in public and people would just look up and be like, Dr. Daddyo?
Straight talking is straight walking, and to fly right means Jax is in sight.
Vernon, Dr. Daddyo Winslow set a precedent on how to capture an audience on the airwaves. A smooth and charismatic voice. He was said to have one of the top-rated radio programs across New Orleans. Jivin' with Jax, sponsored then by Jax Brewery, was the first to play records by artists considered musical legends in America, like Fats Domino, Dave Bartholomew, and Roy Brown.
And look who's walking right into the studio. None other than, good rockin', Roy Brown. What you say, Roy?
Hello, Dr. Daddyo. How are you, huh?
Tell us something about your next number, will you, Roy?
In his showcasing of those artists, he helped make those artists blow up. And that's something that I think they would certainly say if they were around to credit him.
But for some time, what he didn't get credit for was the creation of his first persona. You see, before Dr. Daddyo, there was Papa Stoppa.
Papa Stop, show little babies.
Born in Ohio and moving to New Orleans from Chicago, Vernon Wilson was a married father of two. He came to the Crescent City in the late 40s as an art professor at Dillard University.
He always had a large workspace where he was drawing. And he would teach me how to draw. We have pictures. He was always holding me and carrying me.
Oh, wow. This is Vernon's granddaughter, Crystal Huggins, now a college educator herself. While her grandfather's work on campus was quite impressive, it was the work he'd done on the airwaves that stuck with many who grew up listening to the man whose voice was smooth as silk.
I knew he was special to the community, and I remember people making a big deal, like coming up and saying, well, you know, your grandfather, he's the first black DJ on the radio here. And I was like, okay.
And as you can imagine, becoming the first in any medium really can come with its challenges. In the 1940s, rhythm and blues began to cross racial lines. The music was in demand by a larger and younger audience.
Whoa,
And with the emergence of the sound came an opportunity. Winslow had a hard time making ends meet as an art professor and wanted to add another source of income. At the same time, some radio stations saw an opportunity, playing what they called race music to attract a broader audience and new advertising dollars.
The term race music obviously referring to the black music that was created by black people. The change to the term rhythm and blues is a less racialized, more marketing conscious way of saying it's the same music, but it is for everyone.
We have to keep in mind that radio did not always target any programming towards black audiences. When somebody of another persuasion made that calculation, he had to hire somebody to be that voice for the black listeners who would be listening to the station which they were creating to service that community.
So Winslow set out to fill in the gap.
So he approaches different radio stations offering his services. So that first station that takes him up on his offer is WJMR, which is located in the Jung Hotel on Canal Street.
But while there was an urge to bring a black sound to the black community and to get black advertising dollars in response, what the station wouldn't bring, over the air at least, was a black man. So instead, they hired someone to play one on air, while Winslow quite literally remained in the background.
Vernon Winslow starts off not on the air, but he's hired to teach white disc jockeys how to sound black, how to sound hip on the airwaves.
And Papa Stappa is a name that a lot of listeners will know. That becomes the character that he helps to create for, again, white disc jockeys.
Here's Winslow in his own words during an interview with WWOZ.
As they would come in, and I would have to teach them the language and the sound that Papa Stappa was. Papa Stappa first was supposed to be a black cat,
right,
a hip cat, and then it moved, and I had to write it in such a way that he was a street dude who knew his way around and could carry on the street language from any point of view.
Yes, sirree, Barbary, buddy, me pro, cowabunga, how about all those people there? What's the life of?
Papa Stappa's character grew in popularity within the community, fooling most to believe the white disc jockey was indeed a black man. But they were Winslow's words and his thoughts. But it would all come to an end when his voice wound up on the radio.
There was going to be dead air. The DJ wasn't there, and he was like, it needed to be done. You know, the station, didn't want dead air. He wasn't back in the booth, and I just took my chances.
Just to show you how different the times were, he is behind the scenes and supposed to stay behind the scenes, but when he ends up on air, he is fired.
Adding on to his work in the art and radio world, Winslow was also a columnist at the Louisiana Weekly. He used that medium to express his disdain for his firing, asking, must a Negro jazz program always have a white announcer who pretends to be colored? According to Winslow, the firing launched a mass exodus of black-owned businesses who advertised with the station.
He taps into this need and understanding that the black dollar is important.
The unceremonious firing was a setback for Winslow, but 6 months later, a call from Jack's Brewery, who also wanted to market to black consumers, would change New Orleans history. They offered to sponsor a show for Winslow on WWEZ, a show where he would be the man behind the mic.
That's right, Jackson Brewing Company and Dr. Daddyo want you to move right on in.
Dr. Daddyo was born, and New Orleans radio had officially integrated. Dr. Daddyo's voice on New Orleans airwaves would set off a chain reaction in the hiring of black DJs. It gave a place to truly showcase the New Orleans sound. By the end of that year, WMRI, which would later become WYLD, would give New Orleans its first black radio station. WBOK would come soon after.
From a black history standpoint, radio was our voice. It was through radio and those announcers we were made aware of events.
So we are looking at one box of the Vernon Winslow Dr. Daddyo collection.
Daddyo's legacy lives on through radio DJs across the city of New Orleans. And thanks to funding by a grant from the Grammy Museum, his smooth voice can still be heard in Tulane's digital library.
Over 3,078 RPM recordings. So they give a glimpse into him and also the emergence of black radio in New Orleans.
This is a wedding picture of my mom and dad.
A welcome gift for Crystal, who says, above all, she misses her grandfather's voice.
I mean, he's just one of the most fantastic people. I miss him a lot.
Dr. Daddyo, whether knowingly or unknowingly, proved even then black culture was something of admiration, and proved to naysayers it was a market worth tapping into, one that would change the face of America's music.
This is Dr. Daddyo saying that the whole gang is having a whale of a time. Yeah!
And if you want to check out some of those digital archives at Tulane University, we have the link on our website, www.ltv.com, including a couple of other facts about Dr. Daddyo on our website as well.